Hi to all of my UPK moms and dads out there. It's Mrs. Crane coming to you from my dining room. I want to take a little bit of time today to talk to you about writing. Starting next week, one of our mini lessons each week that the children will be asked to participate in is going to be journaling. This is something that we do just about every single week when we're in the classroom, and I feel it's really, really important that we continue this because when it comes down to it, out of all of the things that we do in UPK and looking ahead at preparing these kiddos for kindergarten, journaling is one of the most important things that we do because it ties in so many different things. Now, our journaling has changed significantly since the beginning of the school year. At the very beginning of the year, we weren't working on actually writing at all. We were just looking at drawing. So you have heard about the Matman song. We spent tons of time, and we still use Matman. To help us draw our people and make sure that we have all of our body parts and that our people are connected, not floating heads. The kids always love it when we talk about floating heads. We don't do those anymore because we've been learning how to draw. So journaling started with looking at how to draw pictures that make sense, using shapes and things like that to help us draw the best that we can. Then we moved on to coloring. We talk about careful coloring and three-star coloring. Three-star coloring means we stay in the lines. We use colors that make sense. We try to fill up all of the white space on our page to make it look really interesting. So in that aspect, we've tied that into being illustrators, just like illustrators of books that we read all the time at school and at home. And then we added the writing component. Now, I know this is part makes everybody a little bit nervous. The children and the adults. So going forward, I want to show you a little bit about what your child's writing may look like, depending where they are on this progression of writing. And it really depends on a couple of things. One is child's age. Two is their willingness and their interest in writing. In UPK, we celebrate every single attempt to write. Now, let me just say this. There is not a single UPK student that is able to correctly write and spell every single word in a sentence. So from here on out, please make sure that when your child is writing, they're truly doing it on their own as much as possible. And there's a fine line because I know some of our kiddos get very nervous or anxious about it and want to make sure that they're doing it the right way. So we really emphasize listening to sounds and just trying to write down the things that we hear. So when they are doing their journaling assignments, please make sure that they really are doing it independently. You can certainly guide them and push them along a little bit, encourage them, be their cheerleaders, but we're looking for the children to do all of the writing. Please do not even spell words for them. They don't need that. That's not really where we are at this point, and that's okay. So I'm going to show you kind of what your child's writing may look like. And I would say this is kind of the point where they struggle the most, and it's okay. It's going to be tricky for them, and it's okay for them to see that and live through that struggle. They'll come out stronger in the end, I promise. So, depending on where your child is, these are the kinds of things that you might be seeing. Very, very early beginning writers start in what we call a scribble stage, and it may just look like this. It could just be lines, might be a bunch of things, not necessarily left to right, not necessarily top to bottom. There's just marks on the page. But if your child is associating that with their words, yay, that's very exciting. That is where it begins. And from there, we continue to scribble. But you'll see it starts more from the left to right motion, which is the same way you and I would write, or also we connect that with the way that we read. So their scribbles may look like this, or they may have just lines or whatever, but it's going more left to right, top to bottom, and that's okay. That's exciting. You can ask your child, what does it say? And when they tell you what it says, be so excited for them. The next stage from there, children start to realize that, instead of just looking like a little scribble line, they might look like letters. So you might see your child drawing things like this, or things like this, or you might even see something that kind of resembles a letter. great. Not necessarily correct letter formation, and definitely not anything tied to any meaning, but they're still making marks on the page. The marks just happen to look a little bit more like letters. And then we start to realize, oh, when we see letters in books, maybe we can try that in our writing. And so you might start to see a letter string, just a string of letters. Maybe some of the letters in their names. They're not tying it to meaning, they're not tying it to sound, but they are understanding that when I do these things called letters, it means something. Also, again, very exciting. You can see how it's getting a little bit more advanced as we go. We have started in the classroom really noticing that letters come in groups, and that those groups are words, and that when you put those letters together, that means something. We look at that through our morning message. We look at that through my modeling of writing, which you will see when you do the writing lesson with your child. So that is the next phase. Again, some of the letters might match the sound of what they're trying to write, or they might not. If they're trying to write cat, you might see a C, and then you might see, I wrote an A by mistake, just out of habit, but it might not necessarily be tied to it. They might just be doing groups of letters, and that's showing again, oh, hey, I recognize that letters, when I put them together, that's a word, still isn't always tied to what they're actually trying to say. And then we get to the point where we are doing some picture labeling. So if we drew a picture of the sun, and your child was telling me about their journal, I might say to them, oh, what is that? And they might say the sun, and then I would say, sun, and we really emphasize that first sound. And I would ask them, what sound does it, or what letter makes that sound? And if they said S, I would say, yeah, you're right, and we would label it S. That's as far as we go. Kiddos at this age are not going to write the word sun all on their own. You might have a couple of kiddos who are, older 5-year-olds who might have some more experience, who might be ready to do some of those things and might be starting to listen for other sounds, but those are really more kindergarten skills. So what you are typically going to see at this point are these kinds of things in your writing or your child's writing, and it's okay. These are the kinds of things that I'm looking for. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that takes some of the nervousness out of it. I don't want anybody to be anxious or worried that their child is not, doing what they're supposed to do. This is the type of writing we're looking for in journaling. If you have questions, I am more than happy to talk to you on the phone. We can Zoom ourselves. But let me know what I can do to help you make journaling time a little bit more relaxed and hopefully fun. Celebrate everything that your child is doing. Journaling is my most favorite time with your kids each week because it shows how much they're growing. But yeah, just encourage them to be writers and illustrators, and let's see what happens. Thanks for your help. Bye.